Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Awakening Her podcast. How are you doing today, my friend? Hello, hello. If you're new here, my name is Talia Joy. Pull up a beanbag chair, grab a bevy. I'm super excited that you're here. On this show, we talk about all things self-growth, personal transformation, manifestation, and because I'm an intuitive channel, I am always looking at how you can live the life that you intended to live on a soul level, the dreams that you have in your mind's eye, the path that you are here for, the fullest expression of who you are. Basically, how do we get you living a life of freedom and expression and meaning and purpose and manifestations and abundance and really that life that you are meant to live? So I'm excited that you are here. As I said, we talk about all things from a personal development lens, nervous system lens, emotional healing lens, from the lens of achieving your goals, and also from that true soul purpose and fulfillment lens. Does that make sense? We look at it through all the lenses. So I'm so excited that you are here. And I just wanted to take a moment to any of you that have listened before, that have been around the block with me. Thank you so much for being here, for tuning into the show. I know that in 2025, it was not as consistent as the 4 years previous that were 2 episodes a week for like years and years. And I still had a lot of episodes totally in 2025. I was still showing up quite consistently, but I also, changed it a bit. I was talking about different things. I didn't have as many guests on. There was some changes this year. And so I want to thank you for sticking in there with me. I'm excited to be rolling out several new guest episodes, which is really exciting. We're going to go back into that next year in 2026. So I'm very excited, but I'm really just grateful that you're here. Thank you for sharing this space with me. Thank you for sending me messages. Thank you for listening, for sharing, for subscribing, all those things. Because as you may or may not know, doing this podcast the way it's set up, I don't make money from the podcast unless I have sponsors and ads and that type of thing. I mean, there's other ways where people can make money through their podcast, but I don't. This is not monetized, meaning I just don't make money from it. So what really keeps it going is seeing you listen. The likes, the subscribes, the downloads, the reviews that you leave, those go so far because this platform, as I say, I don't directly make money from. It's truly always been from my heart, from my purpose, a way to straight channel potent information and tools and guidance to you guys. It's a way that I can make an imprint on this world or in your life so that you go out and change the world. And so if I wasn't getting anyone listening, if there was nobody listening, it would be like, okay, I need to take my stuff elsewhere because, someone with a message, if you're speaking to an empty room, that's unrewarding really quickly. So the fact that you guys listen and I receive comments, I love when you send me messages on Instagram, like, oh, I was listening to this episode and it really resonated. That goes so far for me because, as I said, that is how I can tell that I'm doing a good job here. And I'm not in this podcast for the money. And it's for meaning, it's for purpose, it's to share. So I just want to say thank you. You help me fulfill my purpose as you tune into this show. And there's a lot of you that have been around the block with me for, some of you for years. I've been doing my business for 12 years. And I just want to say that those hours you've spent listening, I value your time. Time is your greatest asset, and I don't take that lightly. So thank you for allowing me in your world. If I've worked with you one-on-one or in a group, thank you for sharing and investing in yourself with me and trusting me in this journey, because that is truly what makes my life of purpose, is being able to share this with all of you. So thank you, thank you. And I just wanted to say in the intro, as we move into 2025, if you listen to the previous episode, it was all about the energy coming up of 2026. But if you're listening to this in the last few days of the year, or maybe the first week or two of 2026, I hope that this is a time for you of reflection and peace. And I really hope that you take time, whenever it is, to reflect on what you really want for yourself in 2026, not just what you should and what, other people might want, or even just the glossy images of a vision board. I want you to think deeper as far as what feels next for me, not just what do I want to get, what do I want to receive, but like what feels next for me in my life? What's the next piece in my growth and evolution to live that fully, I want to say holistic, like balanced life, not just about the money, but it's the money and the thriving and the health and the purpose and the connections and the relationships. I really hope for you that you take that time and truly shift your energy, as we're going to talk about huge in this episode. I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm going to talk through what I've gone through in this year, but I wish for you the same thing. No matter where you are in your journey, whether, this year and right now is a really hard time, or maybe you're just strutting and you feel like you're like walking on rainbows. Either way, I really I'm sending you that energy because you deserve it. And I really see that we're going into a wave of the light, and it is your time to shine. No matter what you've been through and all that stuff you've worked through, it is your time. The cosmos are assisting you in moving into 2026 with a blank slate, with clean energy. And so I hope this time for you is that, whether it's hard and tender, or you're, like I said, you're going through a really powerful space. It's beautiful. Either way, it's all an important part of the process, but I just wanted to send you that prayer and that boost of energy that 2026 is everything for you in a deeper, meaningful, embodied way, which, yes, will include the abundance and the external goals for sure, because you're going to be doing it from a deeper place than you ever have before, a more aligned, powerful place than you ever have before, and that's what I see for you. So you don't need that new year, new me pressure. You are here for momentum moving into a fresh chapter. So asking yourself, what do I actually want to carry forward? What am I ready to put down? And I know this episode is, I'm sure, going to spark some of that for you as well. So I wanted to give you that end of year, beginning of year message. And yeah, today I'm just really excited to talk about how there's been this thing happening this whole past year. I'm going to go through it, but I have been lightening up. And holy crap, it's one of the craziest things I've ever been through, reflecting physically in my body and as well as many other ways. We'll get all into it, but I'm just really excited to share this today because I feel like I'm sharing a little bit more of what's going on in this moment that I haven't been sharing. So we're going to dive all into it. I'm going to wrap up this intro, and if you want to start January 1st with me, learning the physical tools and principles that I have used this past year to get through my rebirth and release weight from my body and feel like I'm in this way lightened state, as I'll get into in the episode, this way lightened state. It's awesome. And if you feel like you want to start with me January 1st and really activate this magic in your life for a 21-day experience where I'm going to share the tools and the principles, everything that I'm going through in this episode and what I actually did in this last year to release weight from my body and totally lighten up in the way of my energy and my inspiration and the emotional burdens I'm carrying. If you want to go through it day by day, join Life of Magic. The link is in the show notes. We start January 1st. If this is after January 1st, you can still join and just join into the momentum in the group. It's going to be incredible. I'm not going to go too far into that, but if you want to start this year powerful and in the theme of what we're talking about here, real grounded momentum, success, moving through and on and upward in your life, and really starting 2026 with tools, with momentum, with bite-sized education that's just going to make all the difference, join Life of Magic. I can't wait to see you in there. Okay, that's all for the intro. Longest intro ever. Take a deep breath, take a sip of water, drop your shoulders, and let's do this. Okay, so we're talking all about lightening up in this episode, and this is something that has been going on that has caused all the difference in my life. I'm going to share more of storytelling, what's been going on in this year, my real messy transformation. And when I say lightening up, I don't just mean physically, although as I mentioned, since August, my body has actually released 30 pounds, which is blowing my mind. We're going to get deeper into that in a moment. And it's been without force. It's been without punishment. It's been literally only with light, not with dark, not with pressure, not with any sort of even intention or obsession or anything like that. Again, we'll get into that in a second. But I don't just mean physically. I mean lightening up in my heart, lightening up mentally. lightening up emotionally, lightening up spiritually and energetically. And yes, I feel lighter in my body, but I feel lighter in my thoughts. I feel lighter in how I relate to myself and to other people. But getting here was not cute. And so that's what we're talking about in this episode. And so even though there's storytelling, this is more than just my story. This isn't just sharing, stuff about me. This is the growth. This is the walking ourselves through the path of personal transformation and into the light, because that's why we're doing this. That's why we go through the therapy and the counseling and the self-growth and the books and the courses and the reflection and the introspection and the mentors. This is why we go through that, is to walk ourselves through and over to the other side, to the light, to the joyful part of life, the part where we can relax and have relief and feel that ease that we've been literally chasing sometimes for decades, right? So in this episode, I'm so excited to talk about it. And as I said, now I'm feeling lighter. And now, even people in my life are like, you are different. Physically, you look different. Emotionally, you feel different. Like, whoa. But as I said, getting here was not cute. This has been the hardest year of my life. So let's start at the end of 2024 into the beginning of 2025. Some of you that remember, I was doing group programs and all these different things. I shut down everything except On the Path, my membership, and this podcast. I said no more group programs, no more this and that. And to be honest, I haven't shared this part because there's a fine line with vulnerability when to me, I look at it like I'm reflecting things to you to help you. So I'm not just here to just be vulnerable. And I think people are like, be vulnerable. Then they just share all their shit on the internet. That's not really what I'm here for. But there are some truths into what led to this breakdown that I had and all of that. So in transparency, toward the end of last year and for the previous year, I had noticed that there had been way less enrollment in my programs, to the point where, personally, because I honor my time and all the effort that goes into things, I don't want to run a program that takes countless hours to create and film and workbooks and all this stuff if two people are interested. And so in business, there's a business part of it where if, you got to make sure that you are niching or you're this or you're that so that you're selling your product or your service or selling your art or whatever it is, because at the end of the day, it's not a nonprofit business. It's something that literally feeds my family. So at the end of 2024, I was starting to feel like it had been like a year of less people buying, less people interested, me making less and less money, but feeling like I'm putting out so much effort. So toward the end of 2024, I was like, you know what? This is not even close to balanced with the amount of effort I put out compared to what I was making. I need to feed my family, and starting to feel lack and scarcity and feeling worried about money and about this and about that. So toward the end of 2024, I said, I'm not going to do all this stuff because, in all honesty, it wasn't working anyway. And it was starting to feel draining. And I know in my life, and you can reflect in yours, when something feels fulfilling, and sometimes it's a monetary gain and sometimes it's not at all. Something can feel fulfilling and then the energy starts changing. It could even be a relationship or a friendship or something. The energy starts changing and all of a sudden it's more draining than fulfilling. And that's what I started to feel when I was like going to plan a program or do this in my mind. I'm like, like so much work and like, is it even going to pan out and blah, blah, blah. So I decided to shit. No, that's not what I meant to say. To shut down almost everything and only do what I wanted to do. So at the beginning of 2025, I was only doing the podcast and On the Path and then my one-on-one clients. That was all I wanted to do. So everything started to feel, I thought that by closing all that stuff down and only doing what I wanted to do, that was like the assignment, like no big deal, right? Now things are going to get easier. But everything started to feel heavier and heavier and heavier. And I had a few clients that were naturally done in their time with me. And I noticed this complete gap where now I'm not someone I don't advertise my one-on-one work that much because I believe the people that are meant to come, they come, and there's channels and I mention it enough, but I'm not out there going like one-on-one clients, like I'm trying to catch someone with a net. Like I believe you are attracted to me and we have that. And when it works and you find my stuff and somehow we connect. So I wasn't like putting it out there saying, if you want to work with me one-on-one. And the clients I had, there was just a natural pause. And at that time, I don't remember if this was like January, February, but somewhere in there, everything started to feel so heavy and so unbearable that I had to take a break, not just from my business, but like in my life. And the business is just a tiny sliver of my life. So in my other life, in my personal life, in the other areas of my life, it felt so heavy and not just busy, but stretched, like I was so stretched thin, but also compressed, if that makes sense. So again, I'm being transparent here because I believe that it serves you to talk about the realities of life. And I can have 3 kids and a marriage and a home. And sometimes having kids can be hard. Having responsibilities and pressures can be hard, as you know, right? Being a daughter, being a wife, being a husband, being a mother, being a father, being a boss. All of these things come with a side that are great and rewarding, and sometimes it's hard. So when I was breaking down toward the beginning of 2025 and leading into that, it felt heavy to have to be a parent, be a mentor, be a wife, be a friend, all of the responsibilities, the money pressure, business feeling like it just wasn't clicking. It didn't feel good. I was also experiencing chronic pain that I've talked to you guys about before. And my pain goes, I wouldn't say up and down, but there are definite like peaks and flare-ups. And my body was just in more and more pain. I felt constantly overstimulated because I'm very sensitive. I'm HSP as well as being an empath. And I just get overstimulated really easy. And truly, just between me and you, I really felt like everyone needed something from me and I had nothing to give. So maybe you've been in that place before where you feel like you're going through a personal crisis, where for me, I'm in pain and there's money pressure and I'm feeling squeezed in all areas and I'm up, early and kids are waking me up and I'm exhausted, my body's in pain, and it all just got to feel like it was all just too much. Everyone needed something from me and I felt empty. And those moments started to, I don't know if this was now February, March, become so overwhelming that I almost felt like I had to just go numb in my body and my nervous system to keep going through the days, because the next day everyone needs something from me. And the next day I have all these things I have to do. And then there's the dentist. And then there's like, I'm making dinners and like, I have to keep going on. Numbing, just taking off. Taking off or taking a break was not a reality. I couldn't financially just go away for like a couple weeks. I was saying to my husband, like, there needs to be like a mental health rehab, like when you feel like you're gonna mentally break, but it's not because of like a substance or something, like somewhere you can just go that's not gonna be like $10,000 every, week or something. But anyway, so I was feeling genuinely deflated. And everything felt like too much. The fact that I had to make dinner and decide what dinner was, like it all felt so overwhelming, but also this feeling started to creep in of like, who cares? Like, what is the point of all of this? And it started to feel dark. There were times when my husband was worried, where he's just like, are you okay? And it's like, no, because it's like days after days and weeks after weeks of just like, I genuinely felt like I'm moving through the motions of life, barely, checking the boxes barely, but feeling broken and feeling overwhelmed. And I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to go to that dinner. I didn't want to go out this. I didn't want to go for a walk. My body was screaming. My pain was flaring up. I was constantly in lack, scarcity, pressure. And then this bill is coming and shit's starting to bounce on my credit card or whatever. And it just felt like everything was closing in on me. And I remember thinking, like, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep living like this. Like, what is the point? I want to talk about in this time, and maybe I should offer a bit of a trigger warning. I'm not going to get too deep, too serious, to anything, but I just know that a lot of us deal with these types of things. And we're going to bring it over into the importance of moving through this and how I move through it and getting to this space where I'm like, I feel so much lighter, right? But it is hard. And if you're in that space, you've been in that space, like I send so much love to you because it can be tough. And I started feeling such a deep frustration under even what I was going through, because it just felt like, as I'm saying, physically, like physical money, physical relationships, physical pain, physically life was so draining and hard that I started to feel this deep frustration that I'm going to call like a starseed woe, where I'm thinking like I'm doing the work. I've literally been doing therapy and counseling since I was like a teenager. I'm involved in this self-growth work since like I feel like the moment I've been born. I teach it, I help others, I live it and breathe it every single day. If I'm doing the work, if I'm like conscious or whatever you want to say, literally talking to my spirit guides, literally immersed in like reflections and blah, blah, blah all the time, why is it still so hard? Why does my body hurt so much? Why is money hard? Why do I endlessly feel alone even if there's people around me that care? And I don't think that people talk about this enough in the way of like, you're not alone if you feel this. And I wasn't trying to be, and it wasn't coming from ungratefulness or not being grateful for what I have. Because believe me, there was also that voice being like, oh, you're overwhelmed with your kids, but like there's people out there that can't have kids and like, people and blah, blah, blah. And then I feel bad. I'm like, you're right, I should just be grateful. But there is a point where it's not about being ungrateful. It's just, I was tired of the density. I was tired of life being so hard and dense. I didn't want transcendence. I didn't want another freaking lesson. I was just kind of pissed off at the whole thing. And I started to feel this question of like, what is the point in even coming here and incarnating into being human and going like, oh, life can be this and change your life with that. And then it's still so hard. Like that was the part where I was kind of pissed. I was kind of pissed at my spirit team. I was kind of pissed at this whole thing. Why did I have to come here from like beautiful non-physical to come into this meat suit, to be in pain, to have this like, family tensions, like my mom and this and that and money and all these things I'm mentioning. Why? What the heck? And I was just mad. There wasn't like an answer. It was like I was mad. So by about June or maybe May, I just broke. And I did feel that tired, flat, and a bit existentially pissed off. And around June, there was a turning of the tides where I recognized I've been sitting in this for months and okay, fine. Like I'm serious. I was like, fine, like pissed off, arms crossed, fine. If I'm going to be here, like you only live once this time. If I'm here and I'm doing this human thing, I need to choose to show up. It was like something not dramatically, but quietly was like, this isn't working. Remember how I always say, if you've listened to the show, pain is inevitable, suffering is a choice. And I was so deep in my own suffering and goo phase and lack of clarity and what the heck is going on, literally like goo, like I'm covered in goo rolling around on a tarp trying to get up, but I'm just like sad and deflated by the end of it. And realizing, fine, if I'm going to be here this time, I need to shift my perspective or shift the way I'm seeing things. So those weren't the words that just went like, oh, I need to shift the way I'm seeing things. Like that would have been annoying if someone said that to me. But what it was is I deeply recognized that I cannot control what happens to me all the time. My past is my past. My future is my future, whatever that means. But all I can control and influence is who I am being in the middle of it. And there were a bunch of different compounding realizations and thoughts that all came to a head through deep pain. So right before everything started to shift, my deeper wounds of feeling alone and unsupported and all this were also flaring up huge. Wanting to cry, or basically crying from the depths of like my soul, like laying on the floor, weeping from a deeper place, that started to become something that was happening. I was so like crying from the depths. But what I realized in that time is in the past, I would cry sort of at myself and be like, oh, what the fuck? Like, why can't I get my shit together? Or why do I always suffer? Like, why can't I? That was where the crying would come from. Whereas this last time, in like right before June or July, right before everything kind of shifted, I was crying for my inner child, for my pain. I was feeling the depths of that feeling alone, which sucked so much. But I feel like there was a cathartic release in that time of just letting myself cry. So as that's all happening, now I look back, that was a huge emotional purge and I just let it out. I just let it through. I didn't shame myself. I didn't say you're so messed up. It was more just like crying for the aloneness, crying for the trauma, crying for my inner child. So then as I started moving into June or July, as I said, like, fine, if I'm going to be here, I need to show up for myself in a deeper way, show up for my life in a different way. And one thing I really realized through those feelings of aloneness and the betrayal and the wounds that I'd experienced, I realized that I cannot keep betraying myself, that I will not abandon myself anymore. So some of these things I've talked about on the show, and this is how this all shook down. And it was almost like if nothing else is going to work anyway, I'm not making enough money, I'm in pain, things aren't clicking, I'm overwhelmed. If things aren't working anyway, what do I have to lose by just doing whatever I need? Meaning, when the kids would be at school, there were days where I'm like, fuck, like I don't even know what to do. I'm just gonna have a bath and listen to meditation music and cry. Or I'd go for a slow walk. Or I'd be like, I don't know what else to do. And in the summer or so, I started going back to yoga because it was almost that feeling of like, well, F it. Like nothing's working anyway. So instead of going deeper into a dark hole, I might as well just like have a bath. What does my body need? What does my mind need? And it was like, no more pressure, no more like, oh, I got to think of this way that I got to make money and I blah, blah, blah. No, just, I need a bath. I need to cry. I need to stretch. Times where I'm in so much pain, I just need to roll around on the floor a bit with my foam roller and relaxing music, burning so much sage. Like it was almost like I had the deep realization of like, I can't force anything anymore. I can't force my body to heal. I can't force my business to succeed. I can't force, myself to be super patient all the time with my kids and not be overwhelmed. So what do I need? How do I start building myself up? Because in a way, again, F it. What do I have to lose? So when my business is like rocking and I'm making more money, it's easy to go like, oh, I can't take a day off because I need to do this stuff. Or, oh, I've got clients today. Or I've got this. I didn't even have that. Nothing was even working. So it was almost like, I'm just going to go for a walk. F it. It's not, I didn't go for the walk to make money. I didn't go to yoga to change my body or make money or be successful. Like I almost had to let go of all of that end result stuff and go, what do I need right now? I will not abandon myself anymore. Not abandon my needs physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And I had been in the hustle, in the grinding, in the continuing to go after the plan and continuing to try to fix this and fix that. I wasn't listening to myself. I was overwhelmed. I was in pain. I was disappointed. I was exhausted and I was just keeping on going. And it almost went like, well, if none of that's working anyway, all I can do is go for a walk. And that was enough. I had baths in the middle of the day and I would be like, well, I'm just going to put like rose essential oil and get out the salts. Like it's all I can do right now. I have to look after myself. And that was the beginning of a massive shift. Realizing that I cannot abandon myself anymore, that I'm the one that walks myself home, that I can choose to go, okay, so I'm burdened with overstimulation and pressure and just feeling like everyone wants something from me. It's almost like when all that gets too much and I crash and I burn, I have to be the one to pick myself up in the smallest ways. Like laying there on my mat instead of trying to crack a code and make a plan and take the pressure off. Take the pressure off yourself and just go for the walk. And part of what made this really potent is I didn't sit down and go, okay, now I'm going to heal this and this and this. And that's almost maybe what I'm getting to as I articulate this. I felt like I had so many quote unquote problems, like my this wound's coming up and my pain, and like, is my pain from my emotional wounds? Is it my trauma stored in my fascia, or do I just need more vitamin D? Or like, it was always this like trying to heal this, trying to fix this, trying to change this, trying to micromanage my stuff. But I stopped all of that. I wasn't micromanaging my trauma. I wasn't trying to focus on fixing all these individual things. I backed up and made a bigger decision for my life, that I didn't want to feel heavy anymore. I didn't want to feel like the one who's always struggling. I didn't want to feel in lack, in scarcity, or disadvantaged in some way. I didn't want to feel heavy. Not in my body, not in my mind, not in my relationships, not in my past. And that was something too in these last couple of years, like writing my book, I had realizations around, I've always struggled being in my body. As a lot of you know, I had an eating disorder back in the day and pain and blah, blah, blah. I've always struggled being in my body. And I realized while writing the book that I had learned how to not have an eating disorder, like not count my calories and micromanage my food, but I never learned how to truly love myself. And that was a journey in the last few years that's been unfolding. So it was like a deepening of that. I just don't want to feel heavy. I want to just love myself and look after myself and feel the joy and the light in life that I know exists somewhere. It just feels like it's behind a curtain that I can't quite access, but I had to make that choice. I don't want to feel heavy anymore. I want to lighten up. Lighten up in my mind, lighten up in my emotions. Not everything has to be so heavy and overwhelming and overstimulating. I could not go on like that. So in some of that, or as part of that, I noticed that I started letting go of grudges I didn't even realize I was carrying. Things that I was holding on to, things where I was judging people or something my mom would do or didn't do. And I was like, oh, did you notice? And it's just like, I just was like, F it. Life is too short to be heavy and burdened and angry. And that was my next level of letting it go. But as I said, I didn't have to let go of just this thing and let go of just a money block and let go of a mom block and let go. I'd been trying to do that for years. But it was like I was ready to rise through all that. So even letting go of expectations and resentments and old heaviness that I'd been dragging around, that was the biggest part. I just don't want to choose to suffer anymore. Life is going to life you in the face. Pain is inevitable. But suffering endlessly is the choice. And that was my next level of growth. That was my next level of transcendence. And so as I went through June, July, I really started to shift. I really started to feel like I don't want to carry that. I also had a memory come back of my pregnancies, and I don't remember which one, but there was one of them that I was more stressed in general. And my midwife was like, you just can't be stressed, like too stressed when you're pregnant, because it impacts your blood pressure. And I think it restricts blood flow to the placenta and just whatever else. It was just not good for you. Your baby hears that energetically, emotionally, they feel that. And I remember while pregnant, making the conscious choice to say, I'm just not going to carry that. I'm just not going to stress about that. You know what? We'll figure it out. Or my husband would be like, you know what? Don't stress about that. I'll figure this out. And I just remember coming face to face with how sometimes stress is a choice. And so that memory even randomly came up in this past year. It was like all these different pieces of my growth were showing themselves to go like, you are ready to literally stop stressing about the small stuff. And what if 85% of it is small stuff? And with my body, in my existential crisis and coming out of that, I'm like, okay, well, what if pain is my path? I don't know. What if it's karma? What if it's something deeper? What if I'm not meant to fix or cure it? Or what if it's going to magically disappear next year? Either way, I don't want to suffer in the meantime because I don't know. I don't actually know. So I just decided like I don't want to carry all that crap anymore. And here's the magical part. When you start to give yourself a new message, your body and your life responds. And that was the part that I started to, again, flirt with, come back to the laws of the universe and things like the law of cause and effect. If I have a bath, my body will feel more relaxed. That's cause and effect. Every cause has an effect. Every effect has a cause. If you join Life of Magic, if you were in the life round, you know what I'm talking about. And that is so powerful. I feel sad right now or heavy. I don't know what to do. If I just go for a walk, I'm going to feel 1 millimeter lighter. I'm going to feel better. If I just book myself the massage or drink more water, I will feel more hydrated. Drinking more water will help my body. Even if it doesn't like erase all my problems, it will help. So those physical things started coming in to go little bits of it at a time. You start to be the change you want to see in your life. And when you give your life and yourself and your body a new message, life responds, your body responds. Epigenetics, if any of you want to dive in, that will tell you that your DNA and your genetic makeup actually responds to the environment, responds to your thoughts. There's no other way. It is how life works. So that's not just a motivational talk. That's the law of cause and effect. A new stimulus creates a new result. And I became so present with that I gave my system a new instruction. And that was, we are choosing the light. F it. It's like if you do or don't, you're right. Or if you think you can or you can't, you're right. If you do or don't, you're right. If life sucks or life is beautiful, you're right. You're right either way. So either I'm alone and disadvantaged and, suffering all the time, or I'm not. I'm just choosing the light. Because a beautiful thing I've learned working with so many of you guys and working with all my one-on-one clients is everybody has been through shit, and people have been through things that is unimaginable. Like the clients I've been with that have been through things that I couldn't even imagine. So there is always more or less or struggle or adversity or, dense patches, things that happen that were not right. But do I want to suffer the rest of my life? That was the biggest thing. And when my mind softened, my body started listening. My nervous system started feeling more safe. Probably all the baths. My body started releasing. And I have never released weight easily. It's been something, as I said, with the eating disorder that was very difficult for me. I feel like my body shows what's going on with me. And that's everything from weight to pain to the energy, my eyes, my face. I feel like my body just reflects who I am and how I'm doing. And when I decided to lighten up, I swear I started releasing emotional weight. And I know that's so annoying to say if anyone struggled with weight. I hate when people are like, oh, I just did this thing and I just released weight. It's like, yeah, that's nice. But I didn't change anything. I didn't cut out sugar. I haven't fasted or cleansed in like friggin' months. It wasn't about new exercise. It was like the physical weight no longer had a job. In what felt like just a few days, a few weeks, I started giving my body a new message. I wasn't trying to lose weight, which the message there is like, I don't like myself, I need to change it. I wasn't even focusing on that. I wasn't even focusing on my body or anything. I was lightening up mind, body, and soul. And my body, what I feel like, it started reflecting who I truly am, what my healthiest frame is. But I have no idea, I had no focus on an actual weight. If any of you, again, have heard my story, I barely weigh myself. I don't find that it's that helpful or reflective. It can be a big trigger for me. So it really was not the focus at all, but my body responded instantly. My trajectory responded instantly. I started booking my first ever retreat, during that time. And as I really started coming out, the retreat really started building itself. And I actually attracted an opportunity to make income that had nothing to do with my business. That was such a welcome relief. That was like, oh, I don't have to put all this pressure to literally feed my family on my business and this and that, because when things are unclear, more pressure is worse. So in June and July, it's like all of this stuff started happening where I started booking the retreat and literally becoming a retreat host. My body started shifting. I attracted this completely random opportunity that feels really fun and rewarding, and I get to still help and serve and be a part of something, and it's really exciting, brings me in extra money, and has nothing to do with like Talia Joy and everything else, which which was, again, such a nice relief. So as I lightened up, things started changing. And this is where Life of Magic literally was born, because as soon as I rapidly move through something, I have to reflect at what I did, how that worked, and then teach it or share it in some way, because it's just part of my purpose. So Life of Magic, the 21-day experience, the one that starts January 1st, that started coming back into my life because those were the things that bypassed, and in a healthy way, all of the emotional funk. So when we look at, say, something like the law of cause and effect, we look at that, if you drink water, you will be more hydrated. Or as I said, if I have a bath, I'm not going to feel worse. So what you do matters. Little tiny things that you do not only add up over time, but add up quickly. Momentum is a thing. Momentum is another law, the law of momentum. So Life of Magic really helped me to pull through all of this, because it was my lifeline. And I lived it behind the scenes and then created it after and ran the first round. I think it was in October, because I was just in this rebirth and feeling on fire and holy crap, I've changed my life this year and this is what I did. So now I'm running it again for January 1st because I know you guys are ready for this. And so what I mean by bypassing the emotional part is it's not actually bypassing. We talk about healing. We definitely talk about the nervous system, lots of physical tools. It's not about bypassing in that way. But what it is from here to change your life isn't about uncovering more blocks. It's not about searching for what the problem is with money or why you can't do this or what's wrong mentally, physically, emotionally. It's not about that anymore. It's not about the mom block and making sure you know the block so that you can heal it, so that you can bring in money. It's not compartmentalized like that. It is about stepping into your role as a deliberate creator, bringing yourself with your mess and your messiness and your message and your grief and your gratitude and your power and your purpose, and knowing that you are enough as you are. You can have a negative thought and still manifest. You can have a lack thought or a week of spiraling out and still be moving forward. You can be not there yet while also there and moving forward, and you are it. And all these things, when you really look at life like that through a different lens, it collapses our quote unquote problems and portal doors start opening. So instead of me, if I was trying to lose weight, be like, why aren't I losing weight? And I have to work out 5 days a week, and I really should cut out all sugar, and I shouldn't eat any more chocolate. That is just torturous and doesn't work and never worked for me. But by looking bigger and going, how do I lighten up? How do I send my body a new message? Okay, my body wants more water. My body wants my vitamins. It wants to go outside in nature. It wants to stretch and strengthen with yoga. That's what I'm going to do to lighten up. Go toward the light. I go into my yoga studio and I lay on my mat while we're getting ready for class, and I want to just cry because it feels so good. It's a huge yes feeling for me. So what feels yes for you? Where is the light in what you're trying to do? So in this time, I really stopped asking, how do I fix this? And more, how can I lean into the light? How can I lighten up spiritually, mentally, emotionally? So if that's walks, if that's meditation, if that's gratitude or compassion or presence or nature, slowly, I started to come back online, as I was mentioning. And by September, I hosted the retreat. I was in it. My energy had returned, but different this time, because this is the spiral of growth. And I noticed that through this time, and as I started feeling out the other side and really starting to go I'm back, I'm showing up for myself, I'm feeling more inspired. I really feel like I went through the whole process of growth and came out the other side. I started to realize that my book that's coming out January 11th, The Delicate Art of Transformation, I literally lived the process in the past year. So growth and transformation, it's a spiral. We are always going through it. We're going through, wanting things to change and then things breaking down, and then we're in our goo phase, and then we make a shift. And we've been going through this in our self-growth through counseling and therapy and personal transformation work. So there's big spirals, and then there's also little spirals where You'll go through all that in the area of money, or over a year, or over a month, or in a relationship. So it's these continual spirals. That is the cycle of growth. That is the process of the butterfly, the transformation. It's going through the seasons. This same process is mirrored throughout nature, throughout life. So as we go through our dark nights, as we go through our deep sheddings and goo phases and overwhelm, knowing that it's part of the process, it's part of the seasons. There's always a fall that's followed by a winter, and that's always followed by a spring. And as we let ourselves go through the initiation, where, as I say, things are nudging, that like is before the breakdown, but it's like things are not working, this has to change, into the breakdown where it feels like doors are closing, things are being stripped away, crumbling. Sometimes we lose jobs. Sometimes, I had to give up all the group programs and basically shut down everything and then break down. I broke down. And then I went into my chrysalis, and then we go into the goo phase where we're not what we were, but we're not yet where we are, and we feel gooey and we feel slippery and everything is very unclear. And half the time, most of the time, we don't know what the heck's going on. It can also be very gooey emotionally, where our triggers are coming up in our wounds, as I was explaining. And through that, we go through the beginning of the healing and the beginning of the shift, where we start changing form. And in that shift, we start making new decisions for ourselves. We start looking at things differently, or taking new micro actions. We start, applying, for me, it was the life of magic stuff, and really starting to go for a bath or have a bath instead of shaming myself, or giving myself a big hug instead of leaning into the pressure. I started to do things differently. I started to go for a walk. I started to look at things differently, which leads us into our rebirth. That's where the butterfly becomes the butterfly. That's where, the end stage, where we fly. And so this is a process that I've lived over and over and over again. It's the heart of the book. It is just so good, and will take you through your personal transformation as you read the book. But realizing that was my 2025, was this complete cycle of initiation into like the death and rebirth. And it was so painful, but also so powerful. So as we move into 2026, I want you to know that you don't have to carry what you've been carrying. The corners of yourself that feel dark and heavy, it's okay to be in those, to experience them, to do the healing work, to move through to the other side. You don't need to be at war with yourself and suffocated under the pressures of life. You are allowed to lighten up. And for me, it felt like it was like a week or two that changed my life. A shift where I'm facing one direction and everything pivots, and now I'm facing a different direction. That happened in a very short amount of time. You are allowed to lighten up. You can lighten up at any time. And I'm really excited for you with 2025. And I hope that going through this has served you. And as I went through from September on, I just feel this sense of like, kind of like when I was pregnant, I was describing, I'm just not going to stress about that. Or you know what? This will work itself out. Or even if it's tough in a relationship, there's a hard conversation, I'm like, I'm just going to speak what's on my mind, because it's like, I feel like I ain't got time to be resentful and angry. I'm just not going to give into that. So if this means communicating, having a hard conversation, taking time off from my business, releasing pressure from my business, I'm going to do what I need to do to lighten up. Because I don't want to live heavy and weighed down with the weight of the world on my shoulders, physically and mentally, emotionally and spiritually. Did I say mentally? I think I did. Just roll with it. So that is how, like, week after week, my body, I don't know if it's stopped or what's happening, but it's been releasing weight. And I feel like even when I'm overwhelmed with my kids, if there's lots of stimulation, I'll just peace out for a second, go upstairs, do some practices, maybe splash some water on my face, have a quick shower, reintegrate myself back into the tribe. And it's like, what do I got to do? Instead of pretending that my kids, I have one of my kids is a 6-year-old boy. So instead of pretending that he should just be like quiet and, not zooming around the house going like every 8 seconds, instead of pretending that like, that shouldn't be happening. What do I need to do to look after myself, to support myself in this? so that I can hold space for who he is, so that I can remain patient? Well, I need to be looking after myself. I need to be drinking my water. I might need a timeout, going for regular walks, doing my meditations or my yoga. These things make me more resilient in my life, building myself up, filling my own cup, as cheesy as it is, putting on my own oxygen mask so that I can show up for the people in my life instead of it being a crushing responsibility that felt like too much at one point. Now it's like I've come back around to be like, I want to be my best me for my kids, for my clients, for myself. You know what I mean? So instead of this pressure, and I don't know where my business is headed. I don't really know, what you guys necessarily want as far as different containers or mentorship or this. I don't know where this is all going, but I do know that I will not abandon myself again in my everyday life, in, the way I speak up or don't speak up, or the way I look after my needs, or, anything like that. I will show up in my business only in integrity, which is part of also what I did this last year. I've said, I'm on Instagram intermittently because if it feels right, I'm going to share and share and share. And if it doesn't, I'm not going to. I'm not going to do things that drain me, that don't feel right anymore. I don't want to be at war with myself. I don't want to be crumbling under the pressure, kind of mad that I have to be here and be human and go through the whole thing. That's fine too. I can hold space for the part of me that has like an inner teenager mixed with starseed that's kind of like, man, this sucks. And I get that. I get her. But I also am going to choose to live a life of magic, to live while I'm alive, to enjoy myself. Because life is too short to be like, I can't, or I gotta do this, or I just want to enjoy myself, to live while I'm alive, to live a life of magic, no matter what. Because you cannot change everything that happens to you. You cannot control everything that happens to you, but you can control how you respond, how you be in regards to your business or to yourself or in your relationships. So instead of reacting to life, I'm going to respond to life. I'm going to respond and I'm going to lean to the light, because life actually can be quite magical. Life can be filled with pleasure, and life is a yin yang. There is light and dark. There is grief and gratitude. There is pain and pleasure. There's sour and sweet. There's night and day. There's winter and summer, and that's okay too. I can experience all of it. I can be who I truly am with my mess and my message, and I can live a beautiful life of magic with all of that, with the light and the dark, with my strengths, with my challenges. And I choose to now live in that light. And that has been the difference. Okay, my love, this has gone way longer than planned. And I hope that it served you, because this is the process of it all. And you are going through it too. And I cannot wait to support you in your healing, in your shift, in your rebirth, in your lightening as we move forward. And as I mentioned, in Life of Magic, if you join in the live round, we're going to be talking about this. We're going to be talking deeper about the body changes, how you can start experiencing the same, about the, how to open up to opportunities for income when things feel like you don't know what to do, how you can really apply this in your life to shift how you're experiencing life, how you're showing up, and having life dramatically respond differently to you. Having life show up different. Your body starts shifting, your bank account starts shifting, your daily life starts shifting because you shifted. Because who you be has shifted. So I want to help you to be the change you want in 2026. No questions will go unanswered. You can ask me anything. I will be there in the process. And as I said, we are going to talk about things like body, like money, like purpose, like living this life that you are designed to live. Okay, my friend, namaste. If you want to join Life of Magic, the link is in the show notes, as well as that free gift and everything else. And I will see you in the next episode.